Marcel just fired off his signature unblockable cannon. That kid from the soccer desert must be scared out of his wits. Hey, over there. What the hell just happened? No, impossible. Actually, it's not that I have fast reflexes. It's just that I'm 5 seconds faster than all of you. Just a moment ago, you were staring at that report card. 246 points. A score you busted your ass to get. Walking home all alone, totally devastated. Your adoptive mom, Mama Shen, carefully peeked out to check on you. You didn't answer right away. You just counted backwards from 5 in your head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What did you score? The exact same question played out perfectly right in front of your eyes again. That's right, this is the curse that's been haunting you for 19 whole years. Whenever someone talks to you, you can see 5 seconds into the future. Sounds pretty badass, right? Total bullshit. Having a 5-second lag every time you talk to someone. And the stuff your teachers say in class. It just glitches and loops in your brain like a broken record. It's a total nightmare. How the hell could you get good grades under that kind of torture? And sure enough, you failed. Looking at the light suddenly dying out in Mama Shen's eyes, your heart violently clenched. You gritted your teeth and made a decision. Mom, I'm done with school. I'm going out to find a job tomorrow. Who knew? Mama Shen actually changed the subject, insisting you go to Beijing to visit your sister, Luo Lan, to clear your head. You instantly understood. She wanted you to go find your biological parents. Because that little piece of paper tucked in your swaddle back then only had these words on it. Beijing, Tongzhou, Hua Fan. The very next day, clutching the $500 Mama Shen forced into your hands. Carrying a beat-up backpack, you walked out of the mountains that raised you for the first time in your life. But reality smacked you in the face, hard and fast. Right after you got off the train, this bustling metropolis taught you a brutal lesson. Your crappy backpack had been slashed wide open at some point. And the book holding your life-saving money? It was freaking gone. You stood all alone in the crowded Beijing West railway station, totally penniless. No family, no friends. A massive wave of helplessness swallowed you whole. But that didn't keep you down. You hardened your heart. No money for a ride, huh? Fine, I'll walk all the way to the Beijing Institute of Technology myself. So, a weirdo appeared on the streets. You'd grab anyone you could to ask for directions. But you'd always say thanks before they even opened their mouths, and then just walk away. Making everyone curse you out like you were some psycho. But only you knew the truth. Thanks to that damn 5-second foresight, you had already heard their answers. After walking in circles dozens of times in the dead of night, you finally dragged your practically busted legs to the gates of BIT. You were so exhausted and starving, you didn't even have the strength to lift a finger. You could only collapse on the side of the road, gasping for air. And right then, a drunk foreigner stumbled over, munching on a piece of bread. You wanted to borrow his phone to call your sister. Just as you were about to speak, your stomach growled embarrassingly loud. That foreigner looked at your pathetic state and grinned. He casually tossed his bread right at you. The throw was so fast and fierce, and from such a close distance, no one could have reacted in time. But your eyes, they didn't even flicker. Because 5 seconds earlier, you had already seen this whole move coming. You just casually raised your left hand, didn't even bother to look. And caught the bread perfectly. That move? Absolutely flawless. Beautiful. William's eyes instantly went wide. That completely sobered him up. His professional instincts were screaming. At such close range, with godlike reflexes like that, this kid was born to be a world-class goalie. But you weren't thinking about any of that. Starving to death, you just took the bread and wolfed it down. It wasn't until you finished that you remembered why you were there. Thank God, that weird foreign guy was actually still hanging around. You gathered your courage and used your broken English to ask if you could borrow his phone. But out of nowhere, the guy just lost his mind, and chucked the phone straight at your face. It was insanely fast and totally off target. Seeing it was about to smash into a million pieces, you were mentally screaming. But your instincts took over again. 5 seconds in advance, you had already locked onto the phone's trajectory. You stood up, reached out, and snatched it right out of the air. The whole thing was smooth as silk. Unbelievably fast. That single catch absolutely blew William's mind. As a professional scout, the stats instantly exploded in his head. 90 kilometers per hour, 0 warning, and a nasty curveball on top of that. But you, from jumping up to making the block, took less than 0.1 seconds. What the hell was that? It meant your reaction time was practically 0. William even wondered if the alcohol was messing with his head. That is literally not humanly possible. But how were you supposed to know this foreign guy was losing his mind? After getting chewed out by your sister, Roland, on the phone, you awkwardly handed the phone back to the completely stunned William. At that exact moment, William was not drunk anymore. He knew it, he had just discovered a literal god. Screw the vacation, God had just dropped the future king of football right into his lap. He started waving his hands like crazy, just screaming about football, goalkeepers, and tryouts, but you could not understand a single word. You just stood there, smiling like an idiot and nodding. You two spent ages completely talking past each other, until your sister Roland finally showed up. Only then did things get cleared up. Before you left, William practically forced a business card into your hand, begging you to call him. Later that night, your sister took you over to her best friend Fang Ru's place. The second the door opened, an amazing scent hit you. You looked up, and bam, an absolute knockout with a teardrop mole was standing right in front of you. Your heart literally skipped a beat. In your whole life, you had never been this close to a woman, and she looked like a literal goddess. Just as you were about to make a total fool of yourself, your 5 seconds of foresight saved your life again. You quickly told yourself to look away, desperately trying to play it cool. But to your absolute shock, Roland just screamed at her. "You little tease, are you trying to kill someone dressing that hot?" That night, as you lay in a stranger's bed, you clutched William's business card tightly, trembling all over with excitement. Am I really a genius? That thought makes you so pumped up, you can't even sleep. For the first time in 19 years, someone actually believes in you. First thing the next morning, you're woken up by playful noises from the kitchen. But the moment you step out of your room, you're hit with a totally wild scene. Your sister, Luo Lan, has Fang Ru pinned down in the kitchen, playfully scolding her. While Fang Ru is just giggling uncontrollably, you actually foresaw this PG-13 moment 5 seconds in advance. And instantly, your brain just short-circuits. All the blood rushes straight to your face. I've gotta move out, I'm gonna die if I keep living like this. You scream internally. Later, at the breakfast table, you just keep your head down and shovel food into your mouth, completely terrified to even glance at Fang Ru. You make up your mind. You have to go find that guy named William. This might be your one and only chance to turn your life around. Honestly, ever since you were a kid, you've been able to see 5 seconds into the future. But this power isn't a gift at all, it's absolute torture. Seeing the world and constantly glitching, skipping frames just makes you want to sleep all day to escape reality. So, when your sister Luo Lan starts grilling you about the whole thing, you can't even explain it properly. Of course I know what soccer is. You mumble defensively, your mouth still full of food. But wait, what exactly does a goalkeeper do? Just like that, you totally freeze up. Seeing your blank stare, Luo Lan gets even more worried. What if this shady foreigner is a human trafficker or a scammer? Right at that moment, Fang Ru casually chimes in. She grabs William's business card, whips out her phone, and does a quick search. The search results completely blow Luo Lan's mind. Werder Bremen, a massive, century-old powerhouse club in the German Bundesliga. With that, Luo Lan finally backs down, reluctantly agreeing to let you meet him just this once. Meanwhile, a stressed-out William, who's practically pulling his hair out, finally gets your call. He's absolutely thrilled and immediately sets up a tryout for the very next day. He wants to test you himself and lock down a generational talent before any other scouts catch on. Next morning, at the university football field, you show up in a button-down shirt and jeans. Standing there against a fully geared-up William, you look completely out of place. The moment William sees your outfit, his heart sinks. Looking at you like you're an absolute idiot, he asks, "Where are your gloves? Do you think goalkeepers play bare-handed?" Luo Lan's face instantly drops. How were we supposed to know he needed gloves? William just stares at you two clueless siblings, totally at a loss for words. Still, the tryout has to happen. You step in front of the massive goal, feeling pretty nervous. So, I just need to make sure the ball doesn't go in, right? Seeing Luo Lan nod, you instantly breathe a sigh of relief. Peeved, that's easy enough. Right after that, William takes a deep breath, takes a 2-step run up, and unleashes an absolutely explosive strike. The ball rips through the air, rocketing toward the top corner at over 100 kilometers per hour. He's not even expecting you to make the save. He just wants to see if you dive in the right direction. But a split second later, William's eyes nearly bulge out of his head. The ball he just launched is hugged tightly against your chest. But honestly, even though you caught it, but a piercing pain shoots through your hands. The 5-second foresight only lets you see the future playing out. But it doesn't let you feel the power behind the ball at all. You just have to use your stomach to take the full force of the impact so it doesn't slip away. But you know exactly what's coming. Next time, you definitely won't look this pathetic. How is that even possible? William is absolutely dumbfounded. He saw it plain as day. You actually started moving before his foot even touched the ball. That wasn't even a dive. You literally just walked right over and caught the ball like it was nothing. That was definitely not just luck. That was some god-tier anticipation. William can't wait and tells you to throw the ball right back. He wants to try it again. This time, he doesn't even wait for you to get ready. He just goes straight for an incredibly tricky lob shot. The ball flies straight toward the top corner again, but you're in a tough spot. You absolutely cannot expose your 5-second foresight. So, you quietly count the seconds in your head, waiting until the exact moment he touches the ball to burst into action. You leap up and smack the ball right down. The move looks more like you're playing volleyball. But man, your hands, they hurt like hell. At this very moment, William is so thrilled he's practically in tears. This kind of reaction time, this kind of raw talent, a legendary goalkeeper, is about to be born right under his guidance. He fights back his crazy excitement, and insists on taking all 10 penalty kicks. And the result? Out of 10 shots, you actually saved 9. William goes from being thrilled to completely numb. Has there ever been a goalie god like this in the history of soccer? But honestly, you're just standing there panicking over the one ball you missed. 9 out of 10, that's probably just a passing grade, right? You stare at William's weird expression, your heart pounding in your chest. Little do you know, William's entire worldview has just been shattered. 9 saves out of 10 attempts. This is literally God in a human suit playing as a goalie. And just like that, carrying this absolutely mind-blowing track record, you somehow find yourself on a flight straight to Germany. But, the biggest test isn't even about soccer. It's Feng Ru, who's sitting right next to you. In the tight space of the airplane cabin, the faint, sweet scent of her perfume makes a clueless 19-year-old guy like you squirm in your seat. Little brother Yi, why are you so quiet? Feng Ru leans over, holding her tablet. Her soft, sweet voice literally sends shivers down your spine. It's gonna be a while before we get to Bremen. I promised Roland I'd take real good care of you, you know. You get so startled you almost jump right out of your seat. Letting her take care of you? Man, you'd end up in an early grave. You quickly wave your hands in panic, stuttering out a rejection. No, no, no. I don't need anyone taking care of me. Aren't you going to Berlin for a trip? Seeing your face turn totally red from embarrassment, tiny hint of disappointment flashes in Feng Ru's eyes, but she instantly covers it up with a big, carefree smile. Peeved, I'm just messing with you. I'm heading straight to Berlin as soon as we land in Germany. Who even has the time to look after you? Hearing that, you let out a massive sigh of relief. It feels like a huge weight has finally been lifted off your chest. But you completely miss the quick flash of sadness on Feng Ru's face as she turns away. As soon as the plane lands, Feng Ru actually heads off to Berlin all by herself. She only leaves you a phone number. But honestly, for a guy stepping out of the country for the very first time, you didn't even have time to feel sad. Right now, you were just dreaming about that sweet future of playing pro soccer and making real money. You thought the good days were just around the corner. But little did you know, reality was about to hit you with a massive backhand slap. William excitedly brought you to the club to check in, only to be told that he had just been fired by the head coach. That head coach, Thomas Schaff, didn't even bother to look you in the eye. He just straight up called security and had you both thrown out. They're gonna regret this. Those blind fools, William growled through gritted teeth, standing there in the freezing German wind. He thought you were his ticket back to the top. But instead, you guys couldn't even get a foot in the door for a trial. But he wasn't about to give up. You were his absolute last ace in the hole. He couldn't just let this opportunity slip through his fingers. With shaking hands, William whipped out his phone and started frantically calling every single contact he had in the Bundesliga. Hey, is this Ronnie? I've got a genius goalkeeper here. The guy on the other end was pretty polite at first. But the second he heard William had been fired, his tone went ice cold. William, we're really not looking for any goalkeepers right now. Let's catch up next time you're in Hamburg. Gotta go. The phone just clicked dead. William was shaking with absolute rage. But he still didn't quit. He immediately punched in the next number. No matter how hard he begged, all he got were flat-out rejections. Nobody was gonna trust a scout who just got kicked to the curb. And they definitely weren't gonna trust a 19-year-old genius from a country with zero soccer pedigree. William made over a dozen calls in a row. And with every single call, his face just got darker and darker. Out of every single club in the Bundesliga, not one was willing to give you a shot at a trial. You looked at his grim face and asked quietly, "Are we in trouble?" William snapped his head up. a fierce fire burning in his eyes. "Oh, they want to reject me over the phone? Then I'm taking you right to their front doors. I refuse to believe it. There's no way they can just lock us out." The very next day, William dragged you back out onto the road. But reality was way more brutal than a phone call. At the Hanover Club, the receptionist had just said the guy they were looking for was in, but the second she heard William's name, she completely changed her tune. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Nestor is actually still on vacation." "What? Didn't you just say he was in?" "I am so sorry, sir. I must have made a mistake." "Damn it." William spat on the ground in pure frustration. And literally the moment you two walked away, tall white guy strolled right out of the stadium. It was the exact same Nestor who was supposed to be on vacation. He watched your car drive off, a cold, mocking smirk creeping onto his face. What kind of genius could a trash scout like that possibly find? What a total joke. Just like that, for 2 straight months, you guys traveled to every single club in the Bundesliga. The result? You didn't get even 1 single minute of trial time. Another 2 months dragged by. You hit up every single club in the second division, too. But the story was exactly the same, either because William's reputation was ruined, or just because you were from China. 4 whole months. In the massive country of Germany, there just wasn't a single place for you. William's resentment grew heavier by the minute, and the anger inside you was burning brighter than ever. One day, you both just sat there in dead silence in the living room, watching a Bundesliga match on TV, when William finally broke the silence. "Wah, I'm gonna buy you a plane ticket back to Jingdu. I'm completely out of money. I'm already a month behind on rent. If I can't pay up next month, I'll be kicked out to sleep on the streets." William buried his head deep into the couch. He felt too ashamed to even look you in the eye. You frowned at this, staring at a man who looked like he had just aged 10 years in an instant. Then, you suddenly smiled. "You're just gonna give up like that?" William's voice was completely hoarse. I'm so sorry. I dragged you down with me. There's just no place for us in the Bundesliga." You suddenly shot up to your feet. "You were the one who brought me out here. You showed me what real football is. And you didn't charge me a single cent. You ran yourself ragged for me. If we don't have enough money, then we'll hustle together. If the Bundesliga and the second division don't want me, then what about the third division?" I refuse to believe that out of all these clubs, not a single one of them knows real talent. You reached out your right hand, looking him dead in the eye with absolute sincerity. "Let's start all over again. Together." In that exact moment, 19-year-old you became the absolute backbone for 40-year-old William. You locked eyes with each other. It was the final blazing fire ignited from total despair. From that day forward, Bremen gained a middle-aged German guy peddling cheap magazines, and a Chinese teenager going absolutely crazy, scrubbing dishes in the back of a Chinese restaurant, just when the two of you were breaking your backs over a couple dozen euros. Exhausted to the point you couldn't even stand up straight, a luxury car quietly pulled up right outside the restaurant. The window slowly rolled down, revealing a very familiar, pretty face. It was actually Fang Ru. Turns out, this wild girl was a filthy rich heiress studying abroad here in Munich. Seeing you and William completely covered in grease and looking absolutely pathetic, Fang Ru's eyes instantly welled up with tears. Without a second thought, she whipped out a bank card and tried to shove it into your hands. However, this life-saving money became the perfect spark to light a total powder keg. Take it back. Don't need your charity. Even when staring at a bank card that could easily set you up for life, you didn't hesitate for a single second, violently pushing her hand away. Fang Ru froze right there on the spot. She just couldn't wrap her head around it. How a broke dishwasher who couldn't even make rent had the absolute nerve to reject a literal lifeline. You really are biting the hand that feeds you. You ungrateful jerk. Fang Ru was shaking with absolute fury. After dropping those harsh words, she stormed off in her high heels without looking back. And so, you kept grinding through the days, one by one. You had your hopes up, and you had them completely crushed. You even fell into total despair at times. Scrubbing plates, sweeping floors, chopping veggies. You took on every single filthy, backbreaking job there was. The restaurant owner wasn't too bad to you, though. He let you work just half the day. As for the other half, you spent it completely obsessing over football tactics and training like a maniac with William in a rundown park. Through a whole year of grueling hustle, you didn't even dare to make a single phone call back home. You're scared, you're genuinely terrified, but that deep-rooted stubbornness inside you makes you crush every single thought of giving up. You furiously say no to it. Until, today, William bursts into the diner where you work, his face lit up with pure ecstasy. "Wah, a club has finally agreed to give us a trial. Hearing those words, a long-lost smile finally breaks across your face. You clench your fist tightly and pump it in the air. Yes, this is absolutely incredible. After struggling for an entire year, you've finally landed a trial, but they can't even be bothered to give you a proper fitness test. Assistant coach Ralph just casually brushes you off. Just save a few penalties, let's see what you've got. It's painfully obvious they just want to get rid of you. But William, your agent, is bursting with confidence. He's absolutely certain your skills will blow their minds. Your heart skips a beat. Penalties again? Seriously? Should you block every single one? Or should you go easy and let a few slip past? If you actually save them all, they might just lock you up and dissect you like some freak of nature. You quickly make up your mind to hold back. Saving just half of them will be more than enough to shut them up. With that in mind, you strap on your gloves and take a deep breath. Your focus sharpens to an absolute peak. Suddenly, in a flash, the striker, Nils, unleashes a savage shot. The ball spins viciously, rocketing straight toward the bottom left corner. But you just casually shuffle over, effortlessly kicking away his top-tier strike. On the sidelines, however, head coach Heiko secretly shakes his head. His reflexes and anticipation are fine. But saving with your feet? That's way too amateurish. Little did they know, this is just the beginning. Nils shows absolutely zero mercy. He fires off another wicked shot, aiming right for the top right corner. Bring it on, you roar in your head, pushing off fiercely with your left foot as you launch into the air. Smash, your double fists punch the ball away. Then comes the third shot, the fourth, the fifth. You've incredibly blocked 6 penalties in a row. On the sidelines, your agent William is practically jumping out of his skin with excitement. Meanwhile, assistant coach Ralph's eyes have shifted from sheer contempt to utter, jaw-dropping shock. And head coach Heiko, who had been completely silent, now has a fierce, burning intensity flashing in his eyes. But right then, you decide to go easy. You let 4 goals slip past you in a row, saving 6 out of 10. Even that is an absolutely mind-blowing stat. Heiko can't sit still any longer. He storms onto the pitch, pointing right at you, and roars with absolute authority. Ralph, set up a scrimmage, right now. Put him in the game. You know exactly what's going on. If you play solid in this match, that contract is as good as yours. The referee blows the whistle. The very first make-or-break match of your life has officially begun. You've been placed on the underdog reserves team. Barely minutes into the game, the first team unleashes a relentless, tidal wave attack. The reserves' defense is crumbling under the pressure. 16 minutes in, disaster strikes. A reserves defender completely bungles a pass, and it's intercepted. The first team's midfielder, Stefan, delivers a surgical through ball, instantly slicing the defense wide open. Nils traps it and doesn't hesitate for a second, firing off a brutally savage volley. He's dead certain it's a guaranteed goal, but suddenly, a massive thud echoes in front of the net. Your fists punch it out, shutting him down completely. Damn it, Nils kicked the turf in pure frustration, but on the sidelines, Heiko couldn't help but clap and cheer. This Chinese kid just keeps surprising us. Right after that, the first team's attacks came crashing in, wave after wave. In the 27th minute, the first team pulled off a textbook 1-2 passing combination. The 33-year-old veteran, Saipan, snatched up a golden spot right inside the 6-yard box. Seeing you didn't rush out, he unleashed an absolute rocket, aiming straight for the top left corner of the net. It's unstoppable. Even Heiko couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. That is definitely going in. But the very next second, he rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Why is the net empty? What did he just miss? He jerked his head around, only to see assistant coach Mike standing there with his jaw completely dropped. Looking like he had just seen a ghost. Mike, what on earth just happened? Heiko demanded urgently. He saved it, Mike yelled out, completely incoherent. He just swatted it right out. Right at the exact moment Saipan took the shot. You actually took 2 side steps to the left and leapt into the air, your body stretching out like a fully drawn bow. Then, using every ounce of strength, your hand fiercely smashed right into the football. How is this even a save? This is literally a one-armed tomahawk poster dunk on a basketball court. The entire field fell dead silent in an instant. Everyone was completely dumbfounded by this unbelievable scene. Referee Ralph even forgot to blow his whistle, his mind reeling with absolute shock. What kind of monster is this? But at the same time, he was completely ecstatic inside. Jenna really hit the jackpot this time. Off the pitch, William was practically trembling with pure excitement. He could almost see it. Your name is about to echo throughout the entire world of football. But you just stood there expressionless in front of the goal, quietly waiting for the next attack. The halftime whistle blew. The score was still 0-0. The first team actually couldn't break through the second team's net, but head coach Heiko didn't look displeased at all. Instead, his face was lit up with absolute excitement. He gathered all the players around and gave a completely jaw-dropping order. First team, attack like your lives depend on it. Second team, I want you to throw the defense completely. As soon as the second half started, you instantly felt that something was way off. The first team players were pumped up like crazy, firing a barrage of wild shots right at your goal. And your teammates on the second team? They were playing like they were totally out of it. Every single one of them turned into a paper-thin defense, making all sorts of ridiculous mistakes. Getting bypassed with zero effort, the entire football pitch instantly turned into your one-man show. This was already their 15th shot. While you were diving for saves, you were still silently keeping count in your head. Another impossible top corner shot. You let out a helpless sigh, leapt right back into the air, and swatted the ball down all over again. Heiko on the sidelines was completely mind-blown. He was pacing back and forth in a frenzy, muttering to himself, "Second division, no, first division, this is Champions League level." The first team's forwards had been shut down so hard, they were literally questioning their own existence. Even top-tier strikers like Nils and Saipan were starting to show serious self-doubt in their eyes. You alone, just by yourself, had completely shattered Jenna's entire attacking line. Here comes another fast break. Nils got a once-in-a-lifetime chance right inside the 6-yard box. But the moment he looked up and met your ice-cold stare, his heart skipped a beat, and he completely lost the courage to even take the shot. He subconsciously passed the ball to Sabin. Sabin got the pass and completely froze up. He looked at the distance from outside the box and instantly chickened out. Long shots really aren't my strong suit, so he quickly booted it, passing the ball right over to Bjorn. When Bjorn caught that pass, he almost started cursing right then and there. You two absolute liabilities, such a perfect chance, and neither of you takes the shot? He had already blasted almost 10 long shots today, only for you to effortlessly swat every single one away. They didn't pose the slightest threat, but hey, the coach's tactics specifically made him the guy for long shots, so what could he do? He was feeling totally desperate too, but Bjorn was no fool. He fired off a cross pass, and the ball just took a little stroll around the outside of the penalty box, only to somehow end up right back at Niels's feet. Your ice-cold gaze locked onto him once again. Niels instantly shuddered from head to toe. Right in the middle of the scorching summer heat, he somehow felt a bone-piercing chill. You were practically speechless watching them. Just a minute ago they were all attacking like fierce tigers, and now they're just passing the ball around in circles? Are you guys gonna shoot or what? As if he heard your inner thoughts, Niels gritted his teeth, steeled his nerves, and unleashed another explosive shot right at the goal. But just like the rest, the ball still couldn't escape your iron grip. Finally, the referee blew the final whistle. 0-0, the match was over. Everyone rushed over to the sidelines to check the stats, and the very next second, they were all completely dumbfounded. 54 shots, 33 shots on target, 80% ball possession, and using just your own strength alone, you had completely conquered the green field. The players from Jenna's first team finally breathed a massive sigh of relief. If they kept playing like that, they really would have started doubting their whole existence. Niels was the first one to sprint right up to you, flashing a massive grin and shooting you a thumbs up. Beautiful work, man. He was already treating you like one of his own guys. And why wouldn't he? You were just here for a trial, thinking about how future opponents would have to face a monster like you. Sent a wave of pure thrill right through him. Of course, Heiko wasn't blind either. The exact second the match ended, he frantically dragged you and William straight into his office. It didn't take long before a contract was slammed down right onto the table. However, William just took one quick glance at it, and instantly blew his top. A weekly salary of 6,000 euros? An appearance fee of 400? This kind of chump change wouldn't even buy one of our WA fans' legs. Heiko frantically tried to explain, but this is after taxes. It's already the highest salary on the team. You have to remember, we're just a small third division club. He looked at William, who had gone completely silent, and decided to sweeten the deal. I guarantee I'll give him all the stage he needs. Isn't an opportunity exactly what you guys need the most right now? William instantly cooled down. He had to admit, the guy actually had a point. Meanwhile, you were already jumping for joy on the inside. Just months ago, you were scrubbing dishes at a restaurant, working yourself half to death for a measly 500 euros a month. Now, your weekly salary converted back home was over 40,000. That meant 160,000 a month. You were about to be pulling in well over 100,000 a month. But you kept a perfectly straight face, and chose to leave the final decision entirely up to William. William, you make the call, I'm following your lead. The very next day, William brought you right back, and you officially signed the contract without any hesitation. Heiko was so hyped that he popped open a decades-old bottle of vintage red wine right on the spot just to celebrate. Although you only signed on for 1 year, he firmly believed that with you guarding the net, getting promoted to the German second division this year was absolutely not a dream. Very soon, you and William moved to Jena, and you settled right into the players' dormitories. Meanwhile, William was officially hired as a scout and started traveling all over Germany for business. Just 1 day before officially joining the team, you finally gathered the courage to call your sister, Luo Lan. But the moment the call connected, a furious roar came from the other end of the line. Oh, so you finally remembered to call. Do you have any idea how worried Mom and I have been? We were scared to death. Your sister gave you a harsh scolding, but hearing her voice just made you feel warm inside. You hadn't contacted them for over 6 months, all because of your damn pride. Luo Lan let out a long sigh, and her tone finally softened. If you can't make any money out there, just come home. I'm here to take care of things. There's no shame in coming back. But you quickly cut her off. Sis, I'm not coming back. I found a team. You were so afraid she wouldn't believe you that you hurriedly explained, I have a steady salary now. 6,000 a week. Wait, no. You quickly corrected yourself. It's actually 4,800. That's not bad, I guess. But it's still safer to just come home. Luo Lan was still trying to persuade you over the phone. You took a deep breath and dropped an absolute bombshell. Sis, it's not in Chinese yuan. It's 4,800 euros. And that's my weekly salary. The other end of the line instantly fell dead silent. After a few seconds, Luo Lan's trembling voice finally came through. Are you serious? Sis, you never have to go out and work those grueling jobs again. And Mom won't have to work so hard anymore either. Now, it's my turn to take care of you both. Starting today, you could finally be the pillar of support for your family. After sharing the amazing news with them, for the first time in your life, you truly felt from the bottom of your heart that playing football is the greatest thing in the world. The very next day, you showed up right on time at the training pitch. Heiko immediately gathered all the players and formally introduced you to the team. Starting today, this incredible kid from China is your brand new teammate, but it seemed like he completely forgot one little detail. You didn't speak a single word of German, but none of that really mattered. Who wouldn't welcome such a fiercely talented teammate? Even the team's starting goalkeeper, Dino, was completely won over. The skill gap was just too massive. You two weren't even on the same level. He could only look up to you in absolute awe. Right after that, Heiko rushed off to attend a press conference. The reporters were lazily throwing out questions. We heard Jena just signed a new player. Heiko nodded confidently. That's exactly right. His name is Hua Fan, and he hails from China. China? A reporter named John sneered, his face full of absolute disdain. Is he the one brought in by that total fraud, William? The guy who got kicked out by Bremen? His name is William, Heiko firmly corrected him. Then he just shrugged, putting on a look of deep regret. I can only say that I truly feel sorry for Bremen. They let a top-tier scout slip right through their fingers. And they also threw away an absolute football genius. He is the real deal. Every reporter's head snapped up instantly, their eyes lighting up with excitement. Was Heiko openly challenging the Bundesliga giants, Werder Bremen? Are you saying that Bremen is going to regret this? Heiko just smiled. This was exactly the reaction he wanted. Feigning gratitude, he added, I don't know if they'll regret it, but I am truly grateful they didn't keep Hua Fan. Otherwise, how would I have ever gotten the chance to sign him? With that, the press room absolutely erupted. The reporters fired off question after question. Is that Chinese kid really as magical as you claim? Heiko's voice carried a hint of absolute mania. Excellent? No, that's pure, unadulterated talent. Words cannot even begin to describe his gifts. Having Hua Fan alone is more than enough. He just saved me a massive chunk of our transfer budget. The reporters went totally wild again, letting their imaginations run wild as they pressed him. Are you saying he's worth an entire team all by himself? Heiko just flashed a mysterious smirk and kept his mouth shut. And just like that, the entire city of Jena was whipped into a frenzy. The headlines were completely outrageous. Jena obliterates Bremen. Third division nobodies dare to challenge Bundesliga titans. Meanwhile, Bremen's manager, Thomas, stared at the newspaper, shaking with absolute fury. A Chinese kid who hasn't played a single official match. Are these reporters completely blind? He hadn't even planned to dignify it with a response, but as the media storm raged out of control, he realized he couldn't let some third division bottom feeder use his name for clout. So, Thomas immediately called a press conference to fire back. I have no idea why the manager of a bottom-tier club feels the need to piggyback off my success. Thomas was dropping bombs right out of the gate. People need to know their place. Heiko should focus on surviving in his little third division first. When he brought you up, he let out a harsh, mocking laugh. Chinese kung fu is certainly fascinating, but sadly, it only exists in the movies. And as for Hua Fan, player coming from a total football wasteland? Hey, please, that blatant, highly offensive remark instantly pushed the entire drama to its absolute boiling point. Literally overnight, your name was plastered across the front page of every major newspaper. The entire German football world was locked in a bitter shouting match because of you. Even though the hype flared up and faded quickly, the Jena club was already laughing all the way to the bank. Chairman Reiner was over the moon with Heiko's absolute masterstroke. He gave him a raise right there on the spot. The club's official website saw a massive spike of 3,000 new registered fans. They sold over 1,000 extra season tickets, and their sponsors immediately bumped up their funding by a massive 20%. Meanwhile, you, the guy sitting right in the eye of the storm, were completely oblivious to the chaos outside. You just thought it was weird how fans in the stands kept pointing at you lately. Little did you know, Coach Heiko was secretly protecting you behind the scenes. He had figured out your fatal flaw from day one. Your physical strength in tackles was just way too weak. Because of that, you hadn't played in a single internal scrimmage. You were just busting your gut, doing brutal extra drills with the fitness coach. Until today, and a young guy named Wang Qin came excitedly trotting right up to you. He was the brand new translator the club had hired for you. But man, the first thing out of his mouth was an absolute bombshell. Wah, bro, you've gone totally viral. Wang Qin shoved a newspaper right in your face, his cheeks flushed bright red with pure excitement. But you didn't even bother batting an eye. You just shot back coldly. Do I look like I can read German to you? Wang Qin finally slapped his forehead as it hit him. I translated the newspaper for you word for word. Turns out, the entire German media is hyping you up. But you just listened with a totally calm face, because you know exactly what's up. There are only 2 weeks left before the league starts. Your top priority right now is building up your stamina. So, you forced down that inner restlessness, and threw yourself entirely into some crazy training in Jena. But you never in your wildest dreams imagined that while you were burying your head in training, your team was falling apart. Jena lost again, and it was a 3-game losing streak. Losing to strong teams would be one thing, but they couldn't even beat a semi-pro team. They even got crushed by the absolute bottom of the barrel. In the locker room after the match, head coach Heiko looked at the guys, seeing those "I don't care" looks on their faces, and he completely lost it. You think I don't know what's going through your heads? Are you thinking that as long as Wafan is here, he can just win in our sleep? Those words instantly hit a nerve with everyone. He was spot on. The player's mindset was exactly that. With you as their anchor, it's just a friendly match, right? No need to bust a gut. Seeing their guilty expressions, Heiko let out a cold laugh. You guys are so naive. Sure, Wafan can change a game, that's a fact. But how many years do you honestly think we can keep him here? And even if he stays, which one of you can guarantee he won't get injured? Or that his stamina will always hold up? Right after that, Heiko dropped another massive bombshell. His stamina can't handle playing 2 matches in a row at all. Those words were like a bucket of ice water waking up the sleepwalking Jena players. Yeah, what if Wafan actually gets hurt? Are we really going to rely on a goalkeeper to score our goals forever? The team had finally snapped out of it, but the media outside wasn't giving you guys any time to reflect at all. Jena lost again. Where's that Chinese guy they hyped to the moon? Turns out he's just a bench warmer. Heiko is nothing but a total fraud. An overwhelming wave of mockery instantly swept over them. They were crushing Jena exactly as hard as they had hyped you up before. And your bitter rival, Thomas? He was absolutely loving it. He immediately called a press conference, determined to kick them while they were down. Jena, they can't even beat amateur teams. Do they even deserve to be called a professional club? As for Heiko, he's nothing but a guy who shoots his mouth off. And that Chinese kid? Heiko doesn't even have the guts to put him on the pitch. Did he finally realize the kid's a total flop? Thomas was doing everything he could to humiliate them on camera. Oh, right, what was that Chinese goalkeeper's name again? I completely forgot. That, the entire German media went absolutely crazy. All sorts of humiliating headlines were popping up everywhere. Even Jenna's die-hard fans started to doubt. Meanwhile, President Reiner had already called Heiko in for a chat. If we keep playing like this in the league, you know exactly what's going to happen. The internal pressure and the external mockery had pushed Heiko right to the edge of the cliff. If anything else went wrong in the league, he'd be brutally kicked to the curb. And you were his only lifeline. Maybe his prayers actually worked. Jenna finally managed to win their last friendly match. Finally, the curtain was raised on round 1 of the German 3rd Division. Jenna was hosting Unterhaching. At the pre-match tactical briefing, Heiko announced the starting lineup. An absolutely mind-blowing 3-4-1-2 attacking formation. And you, WA fan, were standing right there in the starting goalie spot. And honestly, the whole squad was completely on board. If anything, having you out there gave them a massive confidence boost. On match day, TV commentator Will lazily dragged his voice through the starting lineup. He'd given up on this Jenna squad a long time ago. The ref blew the whistle, and we were officially underway. You just stood there between the posts, soaking in the roaring, deafening energy of a pro stadium. You only had one single thought in your head, to prove yourself. But the opposing manager for Unterhaching, the second he saw Jenna's setup, he actually started smirking on the sidelines. Like, who do you think you're looking down on, buddy? He threw up a quick hand signal, and their whole lineup instantly dropped back. It was obvious, they were parking the bus to hit us on the counter. The live commentator, Bob, was practically screaming his head off. He was ranting about how soft Jenna's attacks were, letting the other guys rip off several beautiful counterattacks. Your coach? Heiko was chill as can be. He didn't even think about changing the game plan. Well, that did it. Thousands of home fans just completely lost their minds. The boos were deafening. Everyone started cursing Heiko out, calling him an absolute idiot. The away team's manager watched the chaos unfold, smirking like he'd already won the lottery. Just one tactical tweak and Jenna was imploding. He was totally thinking, those 3 points are in the bag, baby. And sure enough, only 19 minutes into the game, Jenna's attack got picked off, and Unterhaching pounced on it with a lightning-fast counter. That pass was like a dagger, plunging straight into Jenna's heart. Our midfield was pressed way too high. Nobody had time to track back. In the blink of an eye, their striker was through on a breakaway. It was nightmare mode right from the start. A 5-on-3, your backline was ripped to absolute shreds in seconds. The whole stadium erupted in boos. Some fans were literally threatening to sell their season tickets on the spot. To them, you were nothing but a massive joke. But then, in a flash, Unterhaching's killer counterattack was on. That striker, Florian, was making a solo run. He dusted everyone and made a beeline straight for your net. Bob, the commentator, just gave up right then and there. He slumped back in his chair, muttering to himself, "Come off your line, is this goalie a complete idiot?" He couldn't even bear to watch anymore. But then, a split second later, entire stadium exploded into earth-shattering cheers. Bob's head snapped up, and there you were, holding the ball with this incredibly calm look on your face. That lethal breakaway, you just smothered it, completely shutting him down. In the slow-motion replay, the absolute second Florian wound up for the shot, you made your move. You read the direction and the drop perfectly. Your mechanics were just so ridiculously clean. Your ice-cold composure seemed to freeze the whole stadium. Even your teammates stopped panicking. They started passing it around with total confidence. Then, in the 27th minute, the moment finally came, a textbook 1-2 combination play. A surgical through ball, Sabin took it inside the box and slotted it right home. It's a goal. Your coach, Heiko, was so hyped he literally jumped out of his skin. His gamble actually paid off. He used you to plug up their massive defensive hole, so they could push everyone up for an all-out attack. But the other manager? He just shot back this dirty, disgusted glare. That look in his eyes, it was basically saying, just you wait. But wouldn't you know it, right at that exact moment, a sloppy pass. It was that guy Florian again. He used his pure pace to tear the defense wide open. Another one-on-one right at you. And this time, his eyes were just burning with revenge. There was no way he'd believe your last save wasn't just blind luck. So this time, he put everything he had into it. The ball blasted off his foot from the 12-yard mark like a total rocket, heading straight for the top corner. Florian was already screaming in his head, "It's a goal." But right when the ball was barely 10 centimeters from the goal line, your fists flashed out of nowhere. Smack, you punched that ball out of there with absolute authority. Corner kick, and the whole stadium just erupted into thunderous cheers for you all over again. They whipped the corner in, and Vogie leapt high into the air. A massive header to clear the danger. And from that moment on, Unterhaching's counterattacks came in wave after wave, but the second they reached you, it hit a brick wall. Even the opposition keeper seemed fired up by your performance. He turned into a wall himself, pulling off some unbelievable saves to deny our dangerous shots. Halftime whistle blows, 1-0. You guys walked into the locker room with the lead, and Coach Heiko was practically dancing with excitement. Second half, we keep the same tactics. Attack them relentlessly, let's absolutely destroy them. The whole team was absolutely fired up. Attack, nothing but pure offense on their minds. And you just had to hold down the fort at the back. Right after the second half kicked off. In the 65th minute, Bjorn unleashed an absolute screamer. He smashed it into the back of the net. 2-0. Bob the commentator literally started singing the club anthem, and the whole stadium just caught fire. Thousands of voices singing in unison, echoing through the sky. A battle cry we hadn't heard in years. Jenna went absolutely insane today. But of course, throwing everything forward leaves you wide open at the back. Their counterattacks came flooding in like tidal waves. But honestly, who cares? Because they had to get past you. In the 79th minute, you kicked away a wicked low drive from their Dutch striker. Then, in the 83rd minute, you easily snatched a bullet header from their center back right out of the air. And in the 89th minute, Bogey gave away a foul in the box for a penalty. And you completely stuffed the spot kick without breaking a sweat. Deep into stoppage time, their two strikers pulled off a brilliant 1-2. Danced past our last defender, and it was one-on-one with you all over again. But you just coldly kicked his shot away, completely crushing their last shred of hope to save face. 3-0, the final whistle blew, the stadium turned into an absolute ocean of joy. After the match, Coach Heiko specifically called you out to join him at the press conference. And man, you were the star of the show at that presser. The reporters were throwing questions at you left and right, especially about Thomas calling you a complete fraud. You were clearly pissed off hearing that, and you didn't hold back at all. You just put it right out there, saying you and Thomas absolutely despise each other. And sure enough, by the next day, those words spread across the internet like wildfire. But just as everyone was losing their minds over you, that guy Thomas, who called you a fraud, stepped right back into the spotlight. He gave the camera a dismissive smirk. I've watched the footage. That Chinese goalie? I didn't see anything close to a genius. At best, he's just an average first division keeper. That's it. Regret? I don't regret a single thing. Whether he regrets it or not, you have no idea. But you are definitely regretting it right now. The second you pushed open the front door, you saw Fang Ru curled up on the couch in her pajamas. Your heart skipped a beat at the sight, and you quickly looked away. You kicked yourself for agreeing to your sister Luo Lan's request to let her crash here. Work-study program, my foot. Yeah, right, you had no choice but to play it cool. You quietly carried the groceries into the kitchen. Later, the tension at the dinner table was thick enough to cut with a knife. You both started talking at the exact same time, locking eyes in awkward silence. Whenever she was around, your brain just turned to complete mush. Right at that moment, Fang Ru broke the ice. How about I clean the house and cook for you? And you just pay me a salary. How does that sound? She instantly regretted the words as they left her mouth. But to her surprise, some crazy impulse made you say yes. Just like that, the two of you struck a little deal. Ever since then, you found yourself rushing home the second practice ended. You just couldn't help but think about Fang Ru. Those blissful, easygoing days flew by in an absolute flash. In the blink of an eye, game day for the second match arrived. An away game against the underdogs, Regensburg. Your coach, Heiko, didn't even see them as a threat. With a wave of his hand, the whole squad roared and pushed aggressively up the field. Aside from a sneaky shot early on that you easily caught, you pretty much spent the entire game just pacing around the goal area. 5-0, Regensburg got absolutely dismantled without a single chance to fight back. But the second the final whistle blew, Nils, who had just pulled off a brilliant hat-trick, was the very first one to sprint straight toward you. He knew exactly what was up. He knew that you were the one and only reason this team had been completely reborn. Right after, at the post-game press conference, Nils, who should have been the star of the show, gave every single ounce of credit to you. That's when Coach Heiko grabbed the mic. Hwa is the absolute backbone of our Jenna squad. Every single piece of our tactical playbook is built completely around him. What should have been Nils's moment of glory turned into a massive praise party dedicated entirely to you. Riding that high, the coach waved his hand and gave the whole team a day off. The whole squad partied hard after the game. Nils even invited you to a wild pool party. But you didn't even hesitate. You turned him down and headed straight home. Walking into the house, a table full of piping hot food warmed your heart. Fang Ru excitedly mentioned that she wanted to go watch your next game live. You said yes on the spot, desperately trying to push down all the wild thoughts spinning in your head. You made up your mind to lock in on your career, and stop stressing over things that didn't matter. But what you didn't know was, right at that very moment, back home, a post on a football forum was quietly blowing up. Are there any Chinese players playing in Germany right now? A foreign exchange student named Wang Qin, who just so happened to be your former translator, spotted the post. Without missing a beat, he replied, "There's a goalie named Hua Fan. He is insanely good. I used to be his translator." What a coincidence. An old school, hardcore fan named Ma Qingguo just happened to see that comment. He had just watched the national team get absolutely slaughtered 7-0 by their rivals, and he was completely fuming. A goalie? Hua Fan? Any player good enough to make a club hire a personal translator has got to be seriously legit. He immediately asked, "Bro, you got any footage? Videos, photos, whatever works." Wang Qin didn't hesitate for a second, and directly uploaded a few match clips he had secretly recorded on his phone. He originally thought this wouldn't cause much of a stir, but who would have guessed that these incredibly pixelated, garbage-quality videos would absolutely blow up the entire forum. Holy crap, this goalie is insanely fierce. Is he really Chinese? Where the heck did this Hua Fan come from? How come we've never heard of him before? When Wang Qin came back from dinner and checked, his inbox had completely exploded. In just that short amount of time, the video views had already hit tens of thousands, but he hadn't gone back to watch any more of your games. So he had zero new content on hand. The thread instantly turned into a desperate, wailing mess. As for you, you were completely clueless about everything happening back home. Your mind was entirely focused on the fact that Fang Ru was coming to watch the match. Would she really come? Where would she be sitting? You kept spacing out during training, to the point where even Coach Heiko noticed something was off. He asked you with concern, "Hua, are you feeling unwell? If you're not feeling well, just take a rest for this match." You immediately interrupted him. "I have to play this match." Only then did Heiko feel relieved. He definitely didn't dare to let you miss it, because only when you were playing could the team's offensive football actually work. Thanks to you, Jenna's season tickets sold an extra 1,200 copies. The entire stadium was packed to the brim. A scene like this had only happened when the team pushed into the second division. As the players walked out of the tunnel, the whole crowd instantly erupted into an earth-shattering roar of cheers. The live commentator, Bob, started introducing the players. Their teammates stepped onto the pitch one by one, and the cheers grew louder and louder in waves. But when it was your turn, he purposely paused. The entire audience held their breath. Then, suddenly, he roared out 4 titles with all his might. The booster of the Jenna battleship, Jenna's super core, Jenna's ultimate anchor of stability, Jenna's star of hope. Right after that, he dragged out his voice even longer. Our super goalkeeper. Wah, the very next second, a globally viral, slow jam hit song echoed through the entire stadium. This was the background music played exclusively for you. The fans in the stadium were instantly hyped to the max, chanting for you in unison to the beat. Your teammate Niels leaned in, his face full of pure envy and jealousy. "Wah, how is this fair? I didn't even get this kind of treatment when I pulled off a hat-trick." You just smirked, probably because I'm just way more handsome. Soon after, the match started right on time. Your team was the same as always, pressing forward across the board in an all-out attack, pinning the opposing Munster team dead in their own half. They couldn't even move. However, barely 7 minutes into the game, the unexpected happened. An unintentional, desperate clearance kick from the opponent's defender miraculously turned into an absolutely brilliant long pass. That ball perfectly found their striker, Joseph. A one-on-one breakaway. He was a prodigy on loan from the Bundesliga. With just one burst of speed, he left all your defenders eating his dust. The deafening boos from the crowd shook the sky. They were absolutely terrified, but your mind wasn't on that striker at all. You were still relishing the singing and the cheers of the whole crowd, soaking in that feeling of finally being recognized. You were even wondering if Fang Ru was watching you too. Right at that moment, Joseph, the striker, saw your expression and absolutely lost his mind. He's zoning out? How dare he look down on me in a one-on-one? Furious, he stormed right up to the penalty spot and fired an absolute rocket at the top corner of the net. Dropped dead. From that close, not even a god could save it. But you just scoffed, springing forward like a cheetah. You didn't even dive for the ball. Instead, you raised your right hand high in midair and slammed it down hard on the incoming ball. Stay down. In a split second, the entire stadium went dead silent. Your right hand had the ball pinned dead on the goal line. It didn't budge an inch. Slapping sounds echoed from the commentary booth. Bob was actually slapping himself in the face. He screamed in pure disbelief. "Oh my God, what did I just witness? Tell me I'm not dreaming." Bob's frantic rambling completely ignited the crowd. A deafening roar erupted like a massive tidal wave. The fans were so hyped they couldn't even form coherent sentences. An explosive save like that was even more hype than scoring a goal. Right after that, your signature slow rock anthem blasted through the stadium once again. Yet, you just stood there, looking totally unfazed. You picked the ball up with one hand, then gently secured it with the other. At that very moment, in the eyes of the opposing striker, Joseph, you looked like an absolute giant, like a king ruling over his empire. You gave him a cold, indifferent glare. The sheer pressure in your eyes terrified him so much he didn't even dare to look up. Over on the sidelines, head coach Heiko looked completely calm on the outside, but the speed of his frantic pacing totally gave away his wild excitement. He had struck absolute gold. It was the biggest steal in football history. Meanwhile, the opposing coach, Marco, was completely dumbfounded. His jaw dropped so low you could shove an egg in it. He swallowed hard, only one single thought echoing in his mind. How the hell are we supposed to play against this? Even Fang Ru, lost in the crowd, was staring blankly at you on the pitch. You felt like a complete stranger to her. When that slow rock anthem dropped again, she couldn't hold back anymore. She joined the tens of thousands of fans, screaming her lungs out for you. In that moment, the opponent's morale completely shattered. Your team became absolutely unstoppable. The final score locked in at 6-0. It was an absolute massacre. 3 massive victories had the media hyping you up to the heavens. Former Tier 3 powerhouses were absolute trash in front of you. For the first time, you started thinking you might actually be a genius. After the match, Coach Heiko took you straight to the press conference. You were the darling of the city now. Everyone wanted to know what was going through the mind of this goalkeeper, who had been rejected by every single club. "Tell us, Wah, how does it feel to keep 3 straight clean sheets?" You calmly replied, "It's whatever, nothing special." Who knew the media would set a trap right there on the spot? Are you saying you don't even consider your opponents a threat? Or are you just complaining that your teammates are nothing but background extras? Hearing this, your eyebrows knitted together in frustration. Coach Heiko sensed something was wrong. He immediately snatched the mic and fired back aggressively. The press conference seemed to end on a high note, full of praise. Afterward, swallowing your frustration from the interview, you and Fang Ru took a stroll to enjoy the foreign street views. But who could have predicted that the very next day, the front page headlines would scream, "Wah fan takes young beauty home late at night." They even spread nasty rumors about your sheer arrogance. Splashed right across the newspaper was a photo of you and Fang Ru unlocking your door. Right now, in his office, Coach Heiko was staring you down. He had seen way too many prodigies shoot to fame, only to crash and burn just as fast. You frantically explained that the girl was just your sister's classmate, and she was only crashing at your place for a bit. Good, get ready, we're putting out a statement to clear this up right now. But neither of you realized just how insanely fast this gossip was spreading. In barely half a day, the entire city of Jena was buzzing with the rumor of you bringing a woman home. The media turned on you in a heartbeat. Just a few days ago, they were hyping you up to the heavens. But now, just for clickbait and cheap sales, every single one of them was gunning for you. Won just 3 games and it's already gone to his head. That Wah fan, he's nothing but a flash in the pan. Who does he think he is, bossing his teammates around? Twitter, Weibo, newspapers, TV, overnight, it felt like you had become public enemy number 1, completely despised by everyone. Even though the Jena Daily tried to stick up for you, their defense was completely drowned out by the overwhelming tidal wave of hate. And right at this critical moment, an article from the Jena Morning Post dropped. It was the final nail in the coffin. The piece didn't name drop you directly, but every single word felt like a dagger straight to the heart. Just great. Now, even the fans who were sitting on the fence completely turned their backs on you. They smugly thought they were standing up for justice and the team, while you were painted as the arrogant jerk. Even the Jena Daily, who had always had your back, went totally silent. Coach Heiko was shaking with absolute rage. He was absolutely furious, knowing full well that behind this coordinated smear campaign, someone was definitely pulling strings and stirring up trouble in the dark. He knew that trying to explain things right now would only make it worse. So he told you to lay low for a while, and let your raw skills on the pitch do the talking and violently slap the haters in the face. From that day on, you completely cut yourself off from the outside world. Your life became a strict, grinding routine, from the training pitch to home and back. The only person who reached out was Wang Qin, asking for some of your training clips. Other than him, you ghosted everyone. But who could have guessed? Wang Qin turned around and uploaded those very clips straight to a Chinese forum. In the blink of an eye, the comment section completely blew up. Holy crap, back from the dead, Master Qin, you finally posted. Dude, this goalie's skills are absolutely world class. Is he really from our country? No freaking way. With stats like that, how the hell is he still stuck in the German 3rd division? A one-handed save? Is this a freaking movie? Look at the striker, he's absolutely dumbfounded. Begging the boss for the next upload. Little by little, a secret fan club called Fan Zhang quietly sprang up in a corner of the internet. People were going wild, endlessly sharing highlights of your god-tier plays. Watching your follower count and views absolutely skyrocket. Qin was grinning from ear to ear. People were already sliding into his DMs to talk sponsorship deals. Meanwhile, Ma Qingguo stumbled across your epic goalkeeping highlight reel. Absolutely blown away by your insane talent, he stayed up all night writing. He hammered out a massive viral article titled, "A Goalkeeper Built to Dominate the Pitch." The internet completely blew up over it, but, while the fans back home were going crazy for you, over in Germany, you were facing the worst humiliation of your life. When the away team walked out, a bunch of hardcore ultras actually unrolled a massive banner. Written in glaring Chinese characters, it read, "We don't need superstars." Even the stadium announcer chimed in with total sarcasm. Let's give a warm welcome to Jenna's key player. That bad boy who loves taking girls home, the one who punched a reporter and walked away scot-free. Seeing this, your face instantly darkened, completely storming with rage. It was the first time you felt completely suffocated in Jenna. The very same fans who were chanting your name just days ago had turned their backs on you in a heartbeat, all because of a few trashy tabloids. A freezing chill rushed straight to your core. Right then, Coach Heiko glanced over at you, his face full of worry. He was terrified you'd lose your cool and do something stupid. But, you just marched straight up to the announcer's booth, totally deadpan. Then, in the next second, you forcefully ripped off your glove and thrust your right hand high into the air. You curled your fingers, flashing them an incredibly arrogant 0. The whole stadium absolutely erupted. Get the hell out of Babelsberg. You're not welcome here. Drag your ass back to whatever wasteland you came from. The fans in the stands lost their damn minds. Water bottles, lighters, even eyeglasses, started raining down, smashing all around you. But you just stood there, completely unfazed. It wasn't until a raging fan tried to jump the barricade that the head ref came sprinting over, flashing a yellow card right in your face. It was your very first yellow card of the season. Only then did you finally seem to cool off. You slipped your glove back on and walked back to the goal in absolute silence, acting like you hadn't just provoked the entire stadium. With the sharp blast of the whistle, this incredibly explosive match officially kicked off. But, the game itself turned into an absolute grind. The Babelsberg players weren't even playing soccer out there. They were using every dirty trick and foul in the book, completely shutting down Jenna's attack. For the entire first half, Jenna's momentum and patience were slowly chipped away. The mistakes kept piling up. Finally, both sides headed into halftime locked at 0-0. You and your teammates trudged back to the locker room, looking completely defeated. Meanwhile, on the other side, the opposing coach Dietmar was feeling pretty smug. Convinced his game plan was already half victorious. But right then, Coach Heiko shattered the silence in your locker room. He didn't say a single word of blame. Instead, he was drawing frantically on the tactical board, slashing arrows straight toward the opponent's goal. Listen up, in the second half, if those guys even dare to push forward, you crush those weak-kneed punks. Every single one of you, press high, tear them apart. In a flash, every single player's fighting spirit was instantly set ablaze. But who would have guessed? The moment the second half kicked off, Babelsberg suddenly dropped their defensive shell and launched an all-out attack. Jenna was clearly caught off guard by the sudden shift in pace. Just 1 minute in, and your goal was already under heavy siege. Just 2 minutes later, opposing forward Anton was charging wildly down the right wing with the ball. He cut inside and slipped a through ball, instantly tearing Jenna's defense wide open. Stroh sprinted in at top speed to meet the pass. Now, the only thing standing between him and the goal was you. The stadium announcer went absolutely wild. It's their star striker, Stroh. He's treating Jenna's defense like they're completely invisible. He's winding up for the shot. That damn Chinese kid is finally gonna pay the price for his arrogance. The fans in the stands roared furiously along with him. Crush him. Let's see you save this, you piece of trash. Everyone was just waiting for you to concede, ready to ruthlessly mock your arrogant zero goals gesture. He shoots. From this angle, it's a goal, but right as the announcer was about to scream in triumph, his voice cut off abruptly, choking out like a rooster getting wrung by its neck. There you stood, completely unfazed, holding the ball securely in your arms. When did he even get there? That's absolutely impossible. He wasn't even standing there a second ago. The entire stadium instantly fell dead silent. The fans who were just about to celebrate now stared blankly at the confetti drifting through the air, as if it was mocking their naive hopes. Meanwhile, Coach Heiko just smirked dismissively. You think a weak shot like that is actually gonna go in? Pathetic. The opposing coach, Dietmar, could only shake his head in defeat. Stroh had done absolutely everything right. He even used the defenders to block your line of sight. But he never could have guessed that not only did you predict exactly where he'd shoot, you even calculated the exact millisecond he'd strike the ball. It was a god-tier, monstrous level of anticipation. Deadpan, you just tossed the ball back into play. Clean sheet. You proved with your actions that you always keep your promises. And that unbelievable save sent Jenna's morale skyrocketing straight through the roof. Both teams instantly launched into a fierce back-and-forth battle. Fired up and fully energized, the Jenna players attacked with ruthless precision. And finally, in the 76th minute of the second half, Jenna's attacking trio worked their magic once again. They completely turned the game around. Niels and the other two were putting on an absolute masterclass inside the penalty box. The opposing defenders completely lost their cool and ended up dragging Saban to the ground. A perfectly executed penalty. Jenna broke the deadlock, but then, the opposing coach completely lost his mind. He subbed off all his defenders, ready to go all out on the attack. Their desperate, furious roars echoed across the stadium. In the 83rd minute, their midfielder Sergi pulled off a brilliant fake out to bypass the entire defense, creating space before delivering a beautiful pass. Forward Anton took the ball in stride, pulled his leg back, and unleashed an absolute rocket. It's going in, but before the announcer could even finish his wild scream, his voice got stuck in his throat again, right at the exact moment the ball was about to roll across the goal line. You just calmly raised your foot and trapped the ball dead in its tracks. Your eyes were as cold as ice as you casually glanced over their attacking trio. Is that all you've got? You're not even close. Then, you booted the ball way up the pitch, leaving their forward just standing there, completely questioning his life choices. The opposing players' mindset instantly shattered. They had never faced such a freakish goalkeeper in their entire lives. You were an absolute monster, one of a kind in the history of football. And with that, Jenna's morale hit its absolute peak. Just 6 minutes later, Saban leapt high into the air inside the penalty box. And with a crushing header, he plunged the opponents straight into the abyss of despair. 2-0, a spectacular brace. The referee blew the final whistle early. Thank God, this nightmare was finally over. As the Babelsberg players walked off the pitch, they couldn't help but stare at you in your number 0 jersey. Their eyes were filled with pure envy. If only this monster was on our team. How great would that be? The opposing fans slunk away in total defeat. They didn't even have the energy to boo anymore. You pulled off a flawless, unstoppable performance to keep a clean sheet. You used pure, absolute skill to shatter all the off-pitch mockery and prejudice, slapping every single hater right in the face. But when you got home after the match, Fang Ru dropped the news. She had to head back to Munich the very next day. After a quick goodbye and some sweet reminders, she hurried off on her way. The empty room suddenly felt so cold and quiet. You couldn't help but feel completely down. You kept zoning out during the next few training sessions, and your form just took a massive nosedive. Heiko saw right through your slump. He actually offered you a few days off to get your head straight. But you just shook your head firmly. A flash of pure, wolf-like determination burned deep in your eyes. Because your very next opponent just had to be the Werder Bremen youth team. Sure, they were just a youth squad, but the memory of their head coach, Thomas, humiliating you in public, was still burned into your brain. But right when you hit rock bottom emotionally, your phone suddenly started buzzing like crazy. Hey, Wazi, did you miss me? Fang Ru's sweet, soft voice floated through the speaker. Your empty heart was instantly full again, and you couldn't stop a massive grin from spreading across your face. In a split second, all those dark clouds vanished. You were fully recharged and back at 100%. Your training form shot right back to its absolute peak. Watching you totally fired up again, Heiko secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Jenna's tactics right now were incredibly wild. The entire squad pushed up to attack, leaving the entire defense completely in your hands. As long as you were in the goal, Jenna had the ultimate, unbreakable shield. In the blink of an eye, a whole week had passed. This was supposed to be just another regular 3rd division match. Who would have thought it'd draw a massive army of reporters and cameras? It wasn't just the local Jenna press, either. Reporters from all over the country flocked to the stadium. Everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see how you, the legendary Chinese shot stopper, were going to personally tear Bremen's attacking line to shreds. Of course, just for the clicks and views. Those trashy media outlets had been dragging your name through the mud, totally using you as their personal cash cow. Hell, even Germany's top newspaper, Bild, was running huge headlines about this epic showdown. Between Jenna and Bremen, the match hadn't even kicked off yet. You could already feel the intense, explosive tension blasting right through the screen. Heiko went totally all out this time, too. He straight up called them out at the press conference. If the guys at Bremen have any guts at all, they won't just park the bus and hide. I don't know what the final score will be, but I can promise you one thing. They won't score a single damn goal. Faced with such a blatantly savage taunt, Bremen's head coach, Thomas, just sneered. Every word out of his mouth was dripping with total disrespect and contempt for you. When you stepped back onto your home turf, the atmosphere in the stadium was dead, freezing cold. No cheers, no applause, nothing but endless, suffocating hostility. Days of toxic media smears had completely turned the local fans against you. Even the commentator sounded totally bored and dismissive when announcing your name. You stood there all alone, taking the brunt of the whole stadium's prejudice and hate. A bitter chill soaked right into your bones, but you didn't back down for a second. Instead, you gritted your teeth and made a vow. If no one here is going to cheer for me, then I'll use my absolute power to force every single one of them to bow down and respect me. The opening whistle blew. Bremen youth coach had clearly done his homework on you. He knew damn well that your anticipation was world class, and your reflexes were absolutely insane. But he was convinced you couldn't keep making those intense saves all game long. He was dead set that your defense would crack sooner or later. Then, a truly bizarre scene unfolded on the pitch. Jenna's midfielders had been pressing like absolute mad dogs, but the second the ball crossed the halfway line, they instantly slacked off, not even bothering to track back on defense. The opposing coach, Hornabach, sneered in contempt, secretly mocking Heiko as a total fool who only belonged in the 3rd division. Sure enough, just 6 minutes into the game, the Bremen youth team completely ripped through Jenna's defense. Their star youngster, Predrag, charged forward with the ball. Facing a tackle from Woji, he pulled off a beautiful fake and spin, followed by an absolute stroke of genius. He actually pulled off a reverse backheel pass. It didn't just fake out the entire defense. It even sent Alex, who had rushed into double team, crashing to the ground. Their striker, Nicholas, surged right into the penalty box. He nimbly sidestepped Kai's sliding tackle, setting up a pure one-on-one showdown right against you. In his eyes, you were nothing but a hyped-up clown chasing clout. You had absolutely no right to be guarding that net. He let out a cold, arrogant smirk, convinced that scoring on you would be easier than taking a sip of water. Right at that moment, Nicholas cocked his leg back and unleashed a vicious shot. The ball instantly turned into a blur of white light, flying straight for the top right corner. The entire crowd's hearts leapt into their throats. Everyone held their breath, their eyes glued to that black and white sphere. But you leapt into the air like a giant bird spreading its wings, your outstretched arms drawing a perfect arc through the air. Smack, with a sharp crack, using an incredibly explosive stretch, you viciously swatted the ball away. The commentator, Bob, was left completely dumbfounded. That wasn't a football save. That looked exactly like a completely dominant block on a basketball court. That brutal swat didn't just send the ball flying. It felt like a vicious slap right across Nicholas's face, leaving him flushing bright red with humiliation. But then, the reaction from the stands was incredibly bizarre. The fans instinctively wanted to cheer for that god-tier save. But, tied down by all the recent media backlash, they had to bite their tongues and suppress their excitement. The whole stadium fell into a totally awkward, dead silence. But you couldn't care less. You just glared coldly at the opponent stepping up for the corner kick, with only one thought in your head. Since you all want a show, I'll give you a damn good one. Right after that, the ball arced beautifully into the 6-yard box. The penalty area instantly turned into absolute chaos. The ball was ping-ponging frantically around the crowded box. Things were totally out of control. Even head coach Heiko felt his stomach drop, and thought, oh, crap. But right in that do-or-die moment, you actually let out a massive roar that echoed across the entire stadium. Foul them. All of you, do it, right now. Such a crazy demand was totally unheard of. The Bremen coach, Hornibach, actually thought his ears were playing tricks on him. Just how little respect did this guy have for his own defense? Or was he just so insanely confident in his own goalkeeping that he'd lost his mind? But your teammates at Jena trusted you down to their very bones. Hearing your order, they didn't hesitate for a single second. The very next second, it was total carnage in the box. The Bremen players were being taken out and dropping to the grass like flies. The referee was absolutely stunned. He'd been reffing for half his life, and he'd never seen a team actively begging to give away a penalty. He hesitated for a good few seconds, before finally blowing his whistle. Penalty. The entire crowd stared in utter disbelief. Looking at how insanely calm and confident you were, everyone had the exact same thought. This guy is a complete lunatic. But you just stand quietly on the goal line, your eyes radiating a terrifying kind of confidence. To you, a penalty is actually the safest moment. Facing your teammates' complete shock and confusion, you can't even be bothered to explain. You just give them a calm nod. After all, you can't exactly tell these guys that during your daily training. You weren't even using your real skills. You were practically holding back an entire ocean. Watching Nicholas standing totally confused at the penalty spot. Even though your broken German hurts his ears, he's obviously completely furious that you made your teammate intentionally give away a penalty. He just wants to win back the pride he just lost. Here he comes. Nicholas takes a deep breath and starts his run up. Then he fires a low shot, sending the ball flying straight toward the bottom left corner. But in that split second, the figure that brings him pure despair appears like a ghost once again. With a loud smack, you casually stretch out your foot again, and trap the flying ball dead under your boot. Brilliant save, Wah, we love you. Your teammates rush over like absolute maniacs, pulling you into a massive bear hug. This wild relief of surviving a disaster makes them so hyped they want to kiss your boots right then and there. Though to the referee, this whole scene looks incredibly bizarre. But there's another reason for your teammates' crazy celebration. The fans in the stands are clearly thrilled on the inside, but they're still acting stubborn, absolutely refusing to cheer for you. Meanwhile, Coach Heiko on the sidelines sees right through it all, staring at you with a wicked smirk. He knows that all your completely average saves in training were just you holding back the entire time. Suddenly, the momentum on the pitch completely shifts. The frustrated Jena team launches a brutal all-out attack. In the 17th minute of the match, Bjorn's brilliant 20-yard through ball tears the defense apart, putting Sabin in a one-on-one situation. Unfortunately, the veteran's shot goes wildly off target, drawing massive groans from the whole stadium. The fans take the chance to stir up trouble, deliberately cheering for the player who just messed up, just to specifically target and spite you. But this doesn't stop Jena from completely taking control of the rhythm. The young players of Bremen completely lose their nerve, and their tactical execution falls apart. Mistakes on the pitch start piling up. Then, in the 27th minute, Nils seizes the perfect opportunity, meeting the pass with a brutal volley. It's a goal, 1-0. Jena's star player, Nils, has totally exploded, and the commentators are going wild with praise. The whole stadium is chanting Nils' name, desperately trying to cover up their awkward silence from your god-tier save earlier. But a second later, Nils gets a little too carried away. He excitedly runs to the corner flag, dancing and ripping off his shirt to celebrate, and the referee instantly pulls out a yellow card. This funny little delay doesn't slow down Jena's fierce attacks, and their high press leaves their opponents gasping for air. The Bremen coach suddenly wakes up to reality. While pouring all his focus into studying you, he totally underestimated Jena's explosive, full-powered offense. He finally realizes a terrifying truth. His team is being pushed back and completely overwhelmed, and the root of it all is all down to you, the Chinese goalkeeping god. On the pitch, Nils is absolutely on fire, crazily ripping through the opponent's defense. The Bremen goalkeeper's mentality is completely shattered. Passing error delivers the ball right to Nils' feet, setting up another one-on-one. He calmly slots it home. 2-0. The crowd erupts into deafening cheers. But, learning his lesson from the last goal, Nils deliberately lifted his shirt, faking a celebration to narrowly dodge a yellow card. This epic stunt cracked the whole team up, and his teammates immediately swarmed him, joking and celebrating. But you just stood there, clapping calmly, keeping that low-key, reserved vibe. Which, of course, the media twisted, using it as proof that you were just some antisocial loner. The first half ended, and Jena headed into the locker room with a solid 2-goal lead. but the atmosphere was weirdly tense. Nils was terrified the coach would chew him out, so he hid behind you like a human shield. Coach Heiko stormed into the locker room, his face absolutely furious. Nils instantly apologized and tried to pass the buck, but the moment the coach laid eyes on you, his anger mostly vanished. He just stared and asked the million-dollar question, saving that penalty. Was it really as easy for you as saving a normal shot? Your heart skipped a beat. You realized you'd shown too much and made him suspicious, so you quickly played it down, stammering that it was just pure luck. Your hidden superpower, seeing 5 seconds into the future, was your ultimate trump card. If that ever got out, it would only bring endless trouble and make you a target. You absolutely couldn't let anyone know. Heiko looked skeptical, but in the end, he decided to buy your excuse for now. You barely dodged a bullet. You quietly promised yourself to dial back your skills from now on. And just lay low. Meanwhile, over in the away locker room, all hell had broken loose. Aren't you ashamed? Getting walked like dogs by a 3rd division team? Coach Honbach was slamming the tactics board so hard it nearly cracked. He went straight for their pride, parking the bus on defense? That is a coward's excuse. Even if we lose, we go down fighting. Do you have the guts to put your lives on the line with me? That pep talk hit them like a shot of adrenaline. The Bremen boys' eyes instantly went red with determination. They were just kids, after all. Sometimes, pride matters way more than anything else. The moment the second half whistle blew, the whole vibe on the pitch completely flipped. Those young Bremen players were playing like absolute madmen. That wasn't even football, it looked more like American football. They were sprinting and pressing like their lives depended on it. Your teammates were instantly torn to pieces by the pressure. Then, in the 58th minute, the most incredible moment of the match exploded. Bremen's wonderkid, Predrag, received the ball. It was like he was suddenly possessed by Messi himself. With a fierce burst of speed, he breezed past 2 players. When Alex rushed in to block him, he flicked the ball out with his right foot, then sharply chopped it back inside. A beautifully executed elastico, and he was past him. Alex's ankles were practically broken from that fake. He completely lost his balance and went flying. Right after that, another lightning-fast change of direction, and Predrag blew past 5 guys in a single breath. Heiko was so shocked he literally jumped out of his seat. Even the fans in the stands who were getting ready to boo you were left completely speechless. Jaws dropped everywhere. They literally forgot how to make a sound. This wasn't a 3rd division match anymore. This was Diego Maradona reborn. Right then, Predrag felt like an absolute god. He was in full-on killer mode, charging straight into the penalty box. But he didn't even plan to shoot. The way he stared at you was pure, unhinged obsession. He wanted to dribble past you. He wanted to score by humiliating you in the worst possible way. Inside the box, he unleashed a furious series of step-overs, throwing off your rhythm, dropping his shoulder for an extreme cut, charging up to smash an absolute screamer. But in the very next second, disaster struck. Predrag swung with all his might, and kicked straight through thin air. He nearly fell flat on his face. Nobody even saw what just happened. They just saw you turn your back on your opponent, casually clearing the ball straight into the midfield. In that split second, relying on your absolute sense of anticipation, you just nonchalantly stretched out a toe, a fraction of a second ahead, and poked the ball right through his legs. No flashy acrobatics, no heart-stopping, dramatic saves. Just pure, absolute domination. That so-called genius had his moment of glory utterly crushed in an instant. His mental game totally crumbled. The home fans in the stands? They were completely torn. They desperately wanted to cheer for you, but their pride kept their mouths shut. Heiko saw right through it all. He couldn't help but scoff at their narrow-minded double standards. But you just gave a calm shrug. You couldn't care less if they liked you. Guarding that net with your life. That's the only thing that mattered. In this showdown, the real star was never going to be some flash in the pan prodigy. It was you, standing as an unshakable wall. And after this brutal lesson, Bremen's entire fighting spirit completely snapped. The rest of the match was just absolute garbage time. Jenna pushed up and dominated the pitch, locking down a massive 4-0 victory. It was a total, ruthless humiliation. Then came the post-match press conference. Heiko was radiating confidence. Bold and aggressive, he publicly called out the top-tier powerhouses for a challenge. He put all his ambition right on the table. And as for the outside world's blind prejudice against you, he fiercely defended his player, using their rock-solid spot at the top of the league to silence all the haters. But even a thrashing like that couldn't scare off every single doubter. Hornbach, the coach of Bremen's youth squad, actually tried to do their first team manager, Thomas, a favor by warning him. But he got the door slammed right in his face. Thomas looked at him with pure disgust. He couldn't even be bothered to glance at the match footage. A keeper getting booed by his own fans? What kind of real skill could he possibly have? He's just an inconsistent fluke. Wins a couple of games and suddenly thinks he owns the place. Oh, he had absolutely no idea just how steep a price he was going to pay for that arrogant little speech. Meanwhile, news of the massive win exploded back home. Your enormous fanbase in China instantly rallied together. Furious and heartbroken over the disrespect you faced on the road, they demanded you transfer and find a club that actually deserved you. Plenty of clubs took the bait, throwing massive contracts and crazy perks your way, trying to poach you. But a promise is a promise. You stood your ground, honoring the absolute bottom line of your contract. You shut down every single temptation, absolutely determined to stay right here in Jena. Loyal to the core, with zero intention of betraying them. Honestly, you barely even looked at the internet anyway. You were completely oblivious to all the hype and drama blowing up outside. Your mind was purely locked onto the pitch. The grueling, back-to-back schedule was pushing your stamina to the breaking point. You had to cut out every bit of wasted energy, recovering and preparing with everything you had, gearing up for the next brutal battle. But right before your next away game against Chemnitz, the local press started deliberately stirring up drama about being sister cities. They were secretly feeding those transfer rumors, desperately trying to use the media to mess with your team's headspace. Their manager was broke, he didn't have anywhere near the budget to actually sign you, so he just talked big about stealing you away, fanning the flames of the rumor mill to stir up the transfer market. Naturally, a bunch of other clubs jumped right on the bandwagon, scrambling to grab a keeper in such red-hot form. Heiko didn't waste a second. He stepped up hard and officially slapped a not-for-sale sign right on you. And you never forgot that he was the one who gave you your shot. You shot down every single offer without a second thought. You were staying put, plain and simple. But when match day finally arrived, as the team bus slowly rolled into Chemnitz, the sight out the window left every single guy on the squad completely speechless. Since when was this an away game? This looked like your own private, massively hyped fan convention. Some die-hards had even hoisted up a massive banner. Wah, come play for Chemnitz. You're the ones who really love you. Those Jena fans are completely blind. Only we get you, looking out the window at this overwhelming wave of passion. To be honest, your heart just skipped a beat. Being worshipped like this by the hardcore fans of your bitter rivals, it feels absolutely surreal. But you took a deep breath, and that split second of hesitation in your eyes instantly vanished into cold-blooded killer instinct. Sorry, folks. And you didn't hold back at all. A clean, ruthless 4-0. With a terrifying 6th consecutive clean sheet, you ruthlessly crushed all their expectations. That completely blew the roof off in Chemnitz. Their fans didn't even boo you. Instead, they stormed their own club's gates, screaming that if they didn't sign you, they'd demand mass refunds. But little did they know, because of your god-tier performance, gold and the top brass of their club had already been pushed right to the edge of the cliff. But you couldn't care less about that drama. Back in the locker room, Heiko looked terrifyingly serious, because in just 5 short days, your ultimate rivals, Rot-Weiss Erfurt, were coming to town. This was the real do-or-die battle of the season. The bad blood between these two teams runs deep. Pure, unfiltered hatred. The pre-game tension was absolutely explosive. For days, Heiko spent every waking moment analyzing Erfurt's tactics, getting the boys ready for war. And Erfurt's head coach, Stefan, wasn't slacking off either. Even though in his eyes, you were just some lucky goalkeeper. He figured there was no way one kid could single-handedly dictate the game. Not only that, he paid top dollar to bring in 2 loan players from the Bundesliga. His 2 trump cards, Lashinsky and Michael. He was even plotting to use you as a stepping stone for Erfurt to crash into the 2nd division. Those 5 days flew by in a flash. The big clash was about to kick off. But before anyone even stepped onto the pitch, the hostility in the air was already suffocating. The second the Erfurt team bus pulled up to the stadium, it was swarmed by an ocean of raging Jena fans. The crazy pounding and screaming almost shattered the windows to pieces. After finally making it inside under heavy police escort, the players immediately started spitting venom and trash talking the second they saw each other. This was the ultimate welcome for bitter rivals in the 3rd division. Nobody needed a pep talk today. Everyone's eyes were practically burning with rage, and the moment that whistle blew, the game instantly turned into a brutal, all-out brawl. In just the first 8 minutes, there were over 17 fouls between the two teams. Somebody was getting laid out flat every 30 seconds. If you held onto the ball for more than 5 seconds, you were absolutely getting clattered, man and ball sent flying together. The ref was blowing his whistle so hard his jaw must have hurt. It wasn't until he whipped out 2 yellow cards that these bloodthirsty players finally cooled off just a tiny bit. And right in that moment, Jenna seized their chance. Bjorn and Maxi pulled off a beautiful combo right in the midfield. A razor-sharp, surgical through ball instantly sliced their defense wide open. The veteran, Saban, muscled his way past the defender, cocked his leg back, and unleashed an absolute rocket. 1-0, barely 10 minutes into the game, and Jenna had just delivered a stinging, humiliating slap right across Erfurt's face. Hearing the entire stadium chanting Saban's name, Coach Heiko was pumping his fists in pure excitement. He knew perfectly well that as long as Jenna could score just one. With you guarding that net, this game was already in the bag. However, on the other side, Coach Stefan didn't look panicked at all. With a cold expression, he waved his hand, calling his frustrated captain, Rudolph, over to the sideline. He glared fiercely at Bjorn on the pitch and gave the order, drop into a double pivot. Take him out. A cold smirk crept across Lashinsky's face. The guy from Hamburg had completely dropped his guard earlier. Since this number 15, Bjorn, had such great vision and killer passes, he would just have to completely blind him on the pitch. Little did they know, the nightmare was just beginning. Lashinsky stuck to him like superglue, hounding Bjorn relentlessly, constantly throwing in sneaky little fouls and hard physical bumps. Bjorn was shut down in a heartbeat. He couldn't get anywhere near the ball, and on the rare chance he managed a lucky touch, that massive frame would muscle him right off it. Furious, all he could do was spit on the grass in total disgust. The scariest part? Lashinsky wasn't just some mindless enforcer hacking people down. After stealing the ball, he never passed backward. Instead, like a heavy tank, he bulldozed straight through the midfield. Erfurt's 2 wingers, Julian and Olivier, instantly read the play and immediately cut inside toward the center. The 3 of them formed a deadly attacking triangle. Before Jenna's defense even knew what hit them, Lashinsky flawlessly copied Jenna's exact tactics from earlier. Slipping a surgical through ball right through the gap, he found Marcel perfectly on the run. The pass was just unbelievably fast. Marcel's pace was a full stride ahead of Jenna's defenders. He met the ball with an absolute rocket of a shot. Before the crowd could even start to boo, the ball was already screaming toward the net. Coach Heiko's heart leapt right into his throat. He stared dead at you in front of the goal, his palms dripping with cold sweat. This was Marcel's signature cannon, after all, a terrifying strike that could easily hit 120 kilometers per hour. So many keepers in the past, too slow to react, had been completely destroyed by that brutal strike. And facing down this screaming missile, you didn't dare try a flashy, one-handed save like you usually did. That would be pure suicide. Brows furrowed, you shifted sideways, using your chest and both hands to completely smother the fiercely spinning ball. The sheer force of the impact left your palms completely numb. Marcel stared in absolute disbelief. That was his tightest angle, a guaranteed goal. And yet you had caught it perfectly cleanly. Watching Marcel walk away cursing under his breath, your Jenna teammates finally broke out in a cold sweat. If anyone else had been in goal for that shot, the net probably would have been ripped wide open. Erfurt's head coach, Stefan, stared at you with a very conflicted look. Feeling incredibly bitter, he had worked his connections and spent a fortune to loan 2 star players, while Jenna had not spent a single dime to land you, a monster with insane reflexes and absolutely unbeatable saves. However, the momentum on the pitch did not shift at all, despite your god-tier save. With Bjorn completely shut down, Jenna's entire offense was totally paralyzed. Those 2 loanies, the defensive mid from Hamburg and the center-back from Nuremberg, were like 2 impenetrable walls of despair, completely blocking off every single one of Jenna's attacking routes. Bob, the commentator, was furious, screaming into his microphone. Is the ref completely blind? Bjorn's jersey is literally being ripped to shreds out there. But the referee completely ignored Bob's ranting. After all, it certainly was not the first time the old guy had tried to influence the calls. Meanwhile, the tempo of the game was slowly but surely being eaten up by Erfurt. On the sidelines, Coach Heiko frowned deeply, caught in a massive internal struggle. It wasn't like he was completely out of options. If he just subbed off Bjorn for an extra defender and switched to a counterattack, he could easily stabilize the match. But we were only 20 minutes into the game, and it wasn't just the confidence of having a 1-goal lead. Heiko really wanted to use this Bundesliga-level midfielder to properly test and sharpen Bjorn, to see if the rising star could break his limits under the heavy pressure. But what was even more crucial, with you guarding the net, he felt absolutely certain So he took a deep breath and, surprisingly, just sat right back down on the bench. Ready to coldly watch this, frankly brutal, one-sided slaughter unfold. Seeing this, the rival manager, Stefan, thought he was completely suicidal. He couldn't help but sneer to himself, thinking Heiko had gone totally senile. Thinking he could rely on a single trick to win it all. What an absolute fool. And sure enough, the situation on the pitch went south in a heartbeat. Erfurt's attacks came crashing in like relentless waves. The alarm bells were blaring in front of your goal once again. Yet, you stayed eerily calm through it all. No one caught that brief, dangerous gleam flashing deep in your eyes. It was time to show them what true despair really looked like. In the very next second, the entire stadium's breath would stop just for you. The rival striker, Marcel, broke through for a clear one-on-one. With no defenders in sight, he even had time to trap the ball and pick his angle. Your pupils shrank, your heart sank right into your boots. An instant later, Marcel unleashed an absolute cannon of a shot. Smug, celebratory smile was already creeping onto his face, but the sound of the net tearing never came. Instead, there was a heavy thud. You caught that guaranteed screamer and smothered it tightly against your chest. But man, that impact stung like hell. You had to grit your teeth through the intense pain, rubbing your chest as you shot Marcel an ice-cold glare. By now, the Erfurt players were swarming in like a pack of starving wolves. Ready to press high up the pitch. You couldn't afford to mess around. Ditching the quick throw, you booted it straight downfield toward the center circle. Your midfield was getting completely overrun. The ball was instantly headed right back. Bjorn was marking him tight, but Lidzinski played dirty, secretly tugging at his jersey. With a slick knock-on, he blew right past him. Bjorn went down, roaring for a foul. But the ref completely ignored it and let the play run. Thanks to Lidzinski's cheap trick, Jenna's backline fell into absolute chaos. A few quick passes later, the ball found its way right back to Marcel's feet. Marcel didn't hesitate for a second. He let loose a vicious volley. The ball tore through the air with a terrifying whistle, rocketing straight for the goal. You clenched your jaw and threw your body on the line to block it once again. The brutal impact almost made you cough up blood. You instinctively glanced over at Coach Heiko. But he didn't react at all. That's when it hit you. You were on your own to weather this storm. The whole team was boiling with suppressed rage, surviving entirely on your back-to-back miracle saves. And it was exactly your god-tier performance that forcibly sparked your teammates' fighting spirit, barely holding off their relentless assault. The match briefly ground to a tense stalemate, but no one could have predicted. But luck just wasn't on their side. Bjorn, who had been constantly provoked by Lidzinski's cheap shots, finally let his blinding rage completely destroy his self-control. Right then and there, Bjorn launched a reckless, vicious slide tackle from behind. He completely wiped Lidzinski out. The guy who was acting so cocky just a second ago was now rolling around on the turf, clutching his calf. Bjorn's boiling rage vanished in an instant. He was done for. The head ref was already sprinting over. A glaring red card is held high, and Lienski, who was just rolling around on the pitch in agony, sees the red card and actually staggers to his feet. Acting like absolutely nothing happened, he shoots a contemptuous glare at Bjorn, who's walking off the field. Down a man at halftime, the whole team drags their exhausted bodies back to the locker room. The atmosphere is incredibly suffocating. Coach Heiko immediately adjusts our tactics. Fall all the way back and defend with your lives. Give up the wings, hold the center and block their attacks. The second half begins. You guys drop your entire line back, leaving only one forward. You really think parking the bus is enough to win? But right after Coach Heiko sets up the defensive block, the unthinkable happens. Trouble strikes again. Absolute chaos erupts on the pitch. Lienski maliciously undercuts Niels, trying to completely ruin his leg. Furious at the dirty play, Niels completely loses it and shoves him back. And that slippery bastard Lienski immediately drops to the turf, faking agony to draw a foul. The ref shows zero mercy and pulls out another red card. Jenna is now down 2 men. We only have 9 players left to hold off their 11. Before you even process what's happening, you see Saban violently dragging a furious Niels off the pitch. Coach Heiko doesn't even have time to yell. He immediately pulls Saban out and throws in our very last midfield sub. He locks eyes with you, standing there in front of the goal. His eyes are full of heavy emotion. It's as if he's saying, "Wah fan." Jenna is completely counting on you now. Meanwhile, Erfurt's attacks are crashing down on us like a massive tsunami, wave after wave. The 9 of you on defense look like a tiny, fragile boat caught in a violent storm. ready to be swallowed whole at any second. Even Bob has gone completely silent. This isn't even a match anymore, it's an absolute slaughter. The opponents push their entire lineup to control the ball. Our guys are completely gassed out. With a single shout from their coach, their offense suddenly shifts into high gear. Our defense completely collapses. Renner goes down with severe cramps and has to be carried off a pitch. Erfurt isn't going to show any mercy. A high cross is whipped straight into our penalty box. Liensky actually beats everyone to the ball, launching into a flying diving header. The ball curves in a wicked arc, rocketing straight toward the right side of your goal. Your eyes widen. This shot, it's heading straight for the top corner. But, a mere header like this? It's absolutely no problem for you. You easily snatch the ball out of the air and hug it to your chest. But the exact second you catch that ball, it hits you like a bolt of lightning. You finally realize why Niels lost his temper and went crazy. It turns out, that scum Liensky, while fighting for the header, he actually used his hand to secretly hook Voji. He already had the physical advantage, yet he still pulled that dirty, underhanded trick. You can't figure out why he'd sink so low, but there's no time to dwell on it now. You intentionally kill a few seconds before booting the ball out of bounds. Coach Heiko seizes the chance to use our very last substitution, replacing the injured Renner. But there are still 21 agonizing minutes left on the clock. At this point, Erfurt's head coach, Stefan, breaks into a massive, wicked grin. He stands with his hands clasped behind his back, absolutely radiating arrogance. Jenna is completely out of options, and that's his signal to go in for the kill. He immediately pulls out a defender and a defensive midfielder, subbing in two pure attackers. Their formation shifts into a terrifying 3-4-1-2. You stare at Stefan, sitting on the bench looking absolutely smug. Look at your own coach, Heiko, standing frozen like a statue on the sidelines. You just know, the real storm is about to hit. In the 73rd minute of the second half, Marcel intercepts a cross and fires a brutal shot straight into the top corner. But you punch it out with everything you've got. Right after that, the corner kick curves in, and Gaetano sweeps in with a point-blank shot. You narrowly deflect it with the tip of your boot. Barely 40 seconds later, Marcel's fierce volley ricochets off the post, and Lizinski follows up with a rapid rebound. Yet, like a ghost, you appear out of nowhere to block its path again. In just 5 short minutes, Erfurt has bombarded you with 11 shots, 9 of them dead on target. But you are like an impenetrable fortress wall, denying them the net, time and time again. Nobody knows that your foresight isn't totally invincible. Pulling off these extreme saves is draining your stamina like crazy. But you refuse to back down. The worse it gets, the harder you fight. You hold on to one single thought: my net will never be breached. Meanwhile, the Erfurt players are completely losing their minds. They're silently cursing in frustration, furious at how ridiculously stubborn this Chinese goalie is. They've lost count of how many shots they've taken. All they see is you, scrambling and diving across the pitch, over and over again. Yet the ball just won't go in. Coach Stefan, whose hands were casually clasped behind his back just moments ago, has now crossed his arms tightly against his chest, frowning heavily. He just can't believe it. In a mere 13 minutes, 21 shots, 14 on target, and 8 of those were absolute golden opportunities. With stats that spectacular, the score is somehow still 1-0. But stats mean nothing without a goal. That 1-0 scoreboard is still weighing down on Erfurt like a massive mountain. As Stefan glares at your black jersey, a chilling thought crosses his mind. They might actually lose this match. He shakes his head violently. How is that even possible? How can a goalkeeper never make a single mistake? There are still 10 minutes left. Just a few more perfect chances, and your net is guaranteed to tear open. However, for Heiko, these 10 minutes feel like an eternity. Every single shot makes his heart skip a beat. With only 9 men left fighting, Jenna's defense has turned into Swiss cheese. In a daze, it feels like he's back at the day of your tryouts, watching your figure leaping and diving across the box, putting on an absolute one-man show in the German 3rd Division. Marcel watches as you block yet another guaranteed screamer. He spits onto the grass in pure frustration. He is literally exhausted from shooting, and you're somehow still standing. But he sees right through it. Whenever there isn't a shot, you're hunched over, clutching your knees, gasping for air. You're drenched in sweat, and you definitely aren't faking it. The second the ball flies your way, you're as agile as a leopard. And the moment you save it, you collapse like a ragdoll. The eyes of every Erfurt player turn dead serious. They thought it would be a breeze to capsize this little 9-man boat. But who knew there was a damn submarine lurking underneath it? And that submarine is you, this goddamn goalkeeper? In their entire professional careers, they have never faced a goalie like this. You somehow manage to block the most impossible, guaranteed shots. His movements are terrifyingly efficient. Any ball he can't catch, he just punches straight out of bounds. He leaves absolutely zero chance for a rebound. Even Marcel, the famous power striker of the 3rd division, is completely shut down in front of you. His heavy artillery turned into nothing but a cheap firecracker. All bark and no bite. The match is now in stoppage time. The Erfurt players suddenly snap awake. They still haven't scored. Immense pressure instantly crushes down on them, and their attacks turn completely frantic. But up in the stands, an eerie silence falls over the crowd. The Jena fans are so tense they've even forgotten to boo their opponents. They can only pray in silence for the clock to run out. For some reason, even the Erfurt fans have stopped their chanting. The only sound left on the pitch is the heavy thud of the ball being struck over and over. Every single strike feels like a sledgehammer pounding against the hearts of the Jena fans. Thank goodness, they have you, but the better you play, the deeper the regret in their hearts. The line between love and hate just grows sharper. They still think that no matter how incredible you are, you're just standing on the shoulders of the veteran players. They think your character is trash. But right in the middle of this dead silence, a fan named Dennis is feeling his heart tear apart. He had just gotten back from a business trip, only to see you holding the line all by yourself. And out of the entire stadium, not a single person is cheering for you. Are you all blind? He roars in his head. Could a player in a slump really pull this off? Would a keeper who wants to leave actually fight this hard? Would someone who looks down on his teammates never once blame them for a defensive error? To hell with the media. To hell with these so-called veteran fans. Thinking this, taking advantage of the quiet stadium, Dennis gathers every ounce of his strength and screams out that name once more. Wah! Fantastic job, you're resting on your knees, panting heavily. But when you hear that shout, you thought you heard it at the start of the match, but in the chaos, you brushed it off as an illusion. But this time, it's crystal clear. Just as you try to find where the voice came from, the Erfurt fans erupt into cheers again, and you have to let it go. Still, that voice, it sounded just like Dennis. Realizing this, a sudden grin spreads across your face. Someone really is out there cheering for you. As long as even just one person believes in you, you absolutely will not let them down. You slap your own cheeks hard, forcing yourself to snap back to focus. The head referee is already checking his watch. The Erfurt players are getting frantic. Their coach, Stefan, is waving his arms wildly on the sidelines, signaling an all-out attack. Right at that moment, Erfurt creates an absolutely golden opportunity. Total chaos erupts inside the penalty box. Marcel is sprinting everywhere, dragging the defenders out of position. Suddenly, a curving shot comes in from the left, aiming straight for the top corner. Your eyes are locked dead center on the box. This is it. The Erfurt forward, Gaetano, takes the shot. The ball draws a beautiful arc through the air, rocketing straight toward the absolute top left corner of the net. But that annoying figure appears right in its path again. It's you. You take 2 steps to the left, and launch yourself into the air. Your body stretches out like a massive bird in flight, both arms reaching out perfectly straight. You caught it. Half the stadium groans in despair, while the other half gasps in pure relief. You've saved Jena once again. But this time, you crash heavily into the turf, taking the ball down with you. For a moment, you just can't get back up. And right at that very second, the final whistle blows, and you realize the match is over. You gently push the ball away and roll over to face the sky. Haha, we won. Jena's players snap out of their daze and rush toward you like crazy. They pile on top of you, crushing you until you can barely breathe. But you feel, it's all worth it. On the sidelines, Heiko grabs his partner Ralph's hand in excitement, trembling all over. Ralph's clipboard clearly shows, Erfurt had 41 shots all game, 25 on target, and you saved every single one. Jena celebrates wildly, while Erfurt leaves the pitch with their heads hanging low. Rzinski's face is dark with anger. He used every dirty trick to take out 2 of Jena's key players, thinking victory was in the bag, but who would have thought that they'd lose to just you? Turns out, it wasn't Heiko being foolishly brave. It was him. Erfurt's head coach, Stefan, gives you a long, deep look and sighs heavily. Erfurt didn't lose to Jena. They lost to a single goalkeeper. At the post-match press conference, Stefan goes completely off. I have no idea what kind of dumb luck Heiko had to stumble upon a gem like Wah. If it wasn't for Wah, we'd be the ones celebrating right now. He keeps taking shots at Heiko, while hyping you up to the moon. The reporters finally can't hold back anymore. Mr. Stefan, are you saying you want to sign Wafan? Stefan gives the reporter a speechless look, then takes another jab at Jenna. I stand by what I said. As long as Wa is willing to come, there will always be a place for him at Erfurt. Only those who have faced you on the pitch truly know how terrifying you are. You became a legend in a single game. The media of your bitter rivals, Erfurt, actually praise you to the skies. Not only do they report heavily on you, their fans even say they'd gladly welcome you, all because of your unmatched defensive power. Meanwhile, over in Jena, aside from a few papers that always supported you, it's dead silent, especially the Jena Morning Post, which was making the most noise a few days ago. Now completely shut their mouths, because your performance makes it impossible for them to smear you anymore. A player who supposedly loves clubbing wouldn't play like this. Now even their bitter rivals have a chance to poach Jena's core player. Are they happy now? Just as the media supporting you takes the mainstream, Heiko and the team stay completely silent at the press conference. And leave in a hurry. This time, Jena's fans are finally starting to panic. They finally realize, fastest ones to rush you were Wojtek and Alex. That kind of genuine joy can't be faked. Back in your room, you throw yourself onto the bed, call Feng Ru, act a little lovey-dovey, and hang up. You skip your workout because your whole body aches. For a moment, you feel a bit lost. Right then, you quickly scan the room, and your eyes finally land on that rarely used laptop. What on earth has Wang Qin been messing with online? Suddenly feeling a bit curious, you sit down at the desk and hit the power button. At the same time, a fan named Ma Qingguo is shivering while watching the video of your match against Erfurt. He was never a blind fan of yours, but after watching the video, he had to admit, you've completely earned the title of God Hua. And just like that, a post titled The Impact of God Hua on the team blew up online. He hyped you up to the absolute moon, and even linked the match footage. The very next second, the entire vibe of the forum completely flipped. A massive wave of replies completely flooded the screen. Come on, everyone, keep the comment chain going. Let's shout it out together. God Hua, please transfer. Transfer, God Hua. Staring at the endless wall of identical comments on your screen, you were absolutely dumbfounded. Your brain just couldn't process it. You actually had this many fans back home supporting you, and they all wanted you to transfer to a better club. You felt a real warmth in your heart. You decided to share your honest thoughts with everyone. So, using the account Wang Qin gave you, you clumsily typed out a line. Thank you all for your support. This is Hua Fan. The Jena Club has actually been treating me really well, so I'm not considering a transfer right now. But man, you never could have expected that your reply would completely break the unwritten rules of the forum. Holy crap, someone broke the comment chain. Wait, you're claiming to be God Hua? Who the hell are you kidding? Chin Lao Dake already told us God Hua barely knows how to use the internet. Shameless chain breaker, don't think you can derail the thread just by pretending to be the man himself. You just stared at the screen with a bitter smile. You had actually been flagged as a fake of yourself. You frantically typed out a few more words. I swear, I really am Hua Fan. But then, a savage reply left you completely speechless. If you're God Hua, I'll livestream myself eating crap. Immediately after, the forum moderator, Awa, showed up and hit your troll account with an instant ban. Sitting there at your screen, you were just about to defend yourself, only to realize you were blocked from posting. And what the heck was a comment chain anyway? Looking at all that bizarre internet slang, you really felt like you were falling behind the times. Meanwhile, those poor, oblivious fans had no idea they had just personally banned their own idol. While you were sitting there completely frustrated, over on the other side, Stefan, the chairman of St. Pauli Club, was losing his absolute mind. All because of Andre and those two idiots. They just watched a genius goalkeeper like you slip right through their fingers, without making a single dime. And right now, St. Pauli's starting goalkeeper was out with a major injury. Backup couldn't handle the pressure at all. All Stefan could do was watch you, the player who should have been his, absolutely shining over at Jena. The more Stefan thought about it, the more furious he got. He slammed his hand down, and decided to take matters into his own hands. As long as he had enough cash and sincerity, he refused to believe he couldn't win you over. So, he packed his bags immediately, heading straight for Jena. But right at that moment, you were completely clueless about the storm heading your way. You were just enjoying a rare day off. Coach Heiko, worried that you were burning yourself out, had sent you home early to rest. Your skinny frame definitely needed time to adjust to the intense pace. But who would have thought? The second you walked through the door, you got a call from William. He asked you to meet him at the cafe next door. You didn't think too much of it. You grabbed a quick shower and rushed right over. But the moment you walked through those doors, you saw a silver-haired old man in a sharp suit sitting right next to William. Completely confused, you walked over. William immediately stood up. "Wah, this is the chairman of St. Pauli, Stefan Orth." The very next second, Stefan extended his hand toward you, and cut right to the chase. "I'm just going to give it to you straight. Are you interested in joining St. Pauli?" You are absolutely stunned. "Wait, St. Pauli? Isn't that the same team that mocked you and William back then? Now they want you to join them? Don't they know you should never go back to a place that treated you like trash?" You furrow your brows, staying completely silent. Seeing this, Stefan thinks he is being too forward. He quickly leaves a business card, saying he will stay in Jena for a few more days. He hopes you will think it over carefully. Watching him walk away, you urgently ask William what on earth is going on. William looks completely serious. He tells you that, just to get a chance to see you, Stefan followed him all the way from the airport to his house. He means serious business, and, right before you got here, he already dropped 3 massive bombshells. First, he is willing to fire Andre, the head coach who mocked you back then, just for you. Second, he knows how much you respect Heiko. As long as you give the word, he is willing to let Heiko take over as the manager of St. Pauli. But the most important part is the third point. He is ready to buy you for 5 million euros. But that is not all, William continues. On top of the transfer fee, Stefan is offering a signing bonus of 500,000 euros. That money goes straight into your pocket. And not only that, your weekly salary at St. Pauli will be doubled, bumping straight up to 12,000 euros. You are completely dizzy from this barrage of numbers. You blurt out, "Wait, what exactly is a signing bonus?" William explains, emphasizing every single word, "That is money just for you. 500,000 euros. He never in his wildest dreams thought that the day you would be chased by top clubs would come so soon. You are still reeling from this sky-high contract. A whole club is actually willing to fire their head coach just for you? And they would even bring Heiko along too. 500,000 euros. That is 4 million renminbi. Roland's dowry. You could earn it all in one go. The sheer generosity of this St. Pauli chairman forces you to seriously reconsider this transfer. You turn your head to look at William. "William, I want to hear your take on this." William takes a sip of water and begins to break it down for you. He admits frankly, speaking strictly as an agent, "I think this transfer is absolutely worth it. The money is one thing, but what is even more important is how much they value you." Stefan Orth is making it crystal clear that he wants to build the team around you. Even the coach will revolve around you. You cannot buy that kind of treatment for all the money in the world. William admits that Stefan has an incredibly sharp eye. It took William over a year of living with you to realize your genius. But Stefan only watched 7 of your matches before daring to make such a massive bet. Not to mention, he even took care of the people around you. William himself would be getting a hefty agency fee out of it too. "So you are saying I should go to St. Pauli?" You cannot help but interrupt. "No, I am not finished yet." William sets his cup down, suddenly shifting his tone. "That was strictly from an agent's perspective. But as your friend, my opinion is the exact opposite." William's eyes turn dead serious. He points out that, over at Jena, you are also the absolute core of the team. The way they value you there is just as strong. More importantly, you are only 20. You have only been playing football for 1 year. You might have top-tier reflexes, but you don't have the elite physique to match. Going straight into the faster-paced Bundesliga 2 right now. He is worried you will completely burn yourself out and ruin your career. "Then I just won't go," you say, starting to waver. "No," William replies, shaking his head again. "This all comes down to what you want. Even though I am your agent, I am also your friend." You fall into deep thought. On one side is the temptation of money and status, and on the other, the genuine concern of a friend. Just as you and William are having this private conversation in the cafe,